time left to curb the wave that Helen Zille has brought with the ideology that she's bringing of being service liberal orientated rather than ideology orientated. And the left should be very scared as well.
So that leads me to my final question, which is coalition country. I personally think for now it's good. It's better than hegemon political party getting over 50% and continuing to mismanage, misgovern, and loot the country in the ANC. But we have seen these very unnatural coalitions all over the place. Herman Mashaba famously said the ANC mustn't call me for 300 years, we'll never work with them, and then immediately got into coalitions with them in local government in different places. We have seen really odd alliances, frankly, between parties that I don't think match up at all. Now, I know that in politics, and I wish more people remembered this, politics at core is individual people trying to get jobs and good pay, largely. Of course, it's a lot about of ideology. I would hope the best people who rise to the top have a greater purpose. But at core, look at Liam Jacobs. The best available next offer. Because if you think about politics from one lens, it's a career.
Yeah.
You're trying to get a promotion. You're trying to get the next available opportunity. And so my question for you is, which party more than any else do you think the EFF should never work with to keep in?
The most dangerous political party in South Africa today is the Democratic Alliance. Without a shadow of a doubt, for what they represent, for what they're pursuing in terms of decapacitating the state, the conversation we just had, enhancing the financialization of the state, the interests which are vested in funding the Democratic Alliance, and not only the Democratic Alliance, the Action SA, Rise Mzansi. You look at the political party funding declarations that were recently released, you can see that there's common interests that are funding them. For a very long time, it was the Oppenheimer family funding all three of these political parties, the IFP included. We've seen now Martin Marshall, the gambling tycoon, is also funding a lot of common political parties with a common ideology. But at the root of these political parties, whether it's Rise Mzansi or Action SA, their parent body is the Democratic Alliance. So they're the political party that we should all be striving to keep out of power based on what they represent and what they want to achieve. If we have the DA in political power, by the time that we are forefathers or ancestors, this country will be a completely privatized country. It will be a PTY limited. And that is something we should all fundamentally oppose, allowing South Africa to become corporatized, ran by institutions which are vested in stock exchange and market exchanges rather than the interests and service delivery objectives of the people. They are going to make South Africa a business entity, something we should oppose completely.
But then it sounds like your challenge as the EFF is to try and reform the ANC's culture of corruption and failing governance.
Our challenge should be to win. Whether it's realistic or not, looking outward and looking in. I mean, the eventuality is coalition politics. You're correct.
But if you're going to end up in coalition with the ANC, your job seems to need to be to change the ANC's decades-long culture of neglect and corruption.
I don't think externally we would be capable of changing that. We should just ensure that the institutions in which we're elected in coalition with them are not infested by their corruption.
Okay.
That's something we'll have to have a stronghold and hold off on, which is what we're doing in many of the municipalities which we're in coalition with them in already.
Right.
So we've taken deliberate decisions, for example, to take control of finance institutions. We have an MEC of Finance, for example, in Gauteng. We have an MEC of Finance in Ekurhuleni. And that is where we sort of mark them to ensure that they are not able to exhibit their patronage using the finances of municipalities. And that's something that we have to be strategic about, because they don't have a culture of responsibility with public funds. And all of us must know that as long as you keep them away from the public purse, you'll be able to run a functional municipality that's able to service its debts, that's able to pay its service providers, that's able to pay its workers and insource them and give them the necessary benefits in terms of pensions and medical benefits and all sorts of things. That's able to curb tender corruption as well. Ultimately, able to insource all core functions such as cleaning, toilets, safety. You don't need companies to provide those services. You can hire those functions as a municipality as well. So that's where we have to be able to curb their corrupt culture by reforming the municipalities themselves.
I have one final question.
Yeah.
What if the next leader of the ANC is the president's brother-in-law, the arch-billionaire, Patrice Motsepe? That feels like another billionaire. Another billionaire who might have instincts that are DA-esque over the best running of this country.
Employers see tons of resumes every day and don't have time to carefully review them all, which means that
What then?
Look, again, we don't have any control about what the ANC does in its internal elective processes, but I think it would be shooting themselves in the foot again. They already tried the proletarian people's president in Jacob Zuma. They had the economic technocrat in Thabo Mbeki. They've had the businessman, so-called businessman in Cyril Ramaphosa. He's been a dismal failure, and they loaded him as that they won't be corrupt because the president is rich. The president won't do anything.
He doesn't need money, yeah.
He doesn't need money. Well, he had money in SOFAs now, and he's embroiled in the first impeachment process in post-democratic South Africa. So it shows you that their instinct to try and trust billionaires or market fundamentalist presidents has not been helpful to them in the form of Cyril Ramaphosa. So if they opt to do that because they see what Patrice Motsepe has done with football, Mamelodi Sundowns, and CAF right now, if they think that can be translated into governance leadership, then they're sorely mistaken. The attitude in South Africa that governance doesn't require any knowledge about governance in itself, doesn't require studying it, is very misplaced. Everyone seems to think they can govern on instinct or common sense. And we've all, having had experience in business, they seem to think that building a business, or having been a community activist, or having been a proletarian, these individual things can somehow make you someone who is able to govern. Whereas it's actually a combination of all of these things. You must have been able to build something on your own from scratch. You must have studied. You must have a grassroots background. And if you can combine all of these things, you might produce the type of leader this country needs. But to solely rely on him having been good at business and then he can lead a country is something that is a big mistake they've made in Cyril Ramaphosa. And if they want to make it again, then that's up to them. But it has shown them flames, and they dropped below 50% now because of that.
So you described Zuma as like a populist president of the people. You described Mbeki as a technocrat. You described Ramaphosa as a alleged successful businessman. How would you describe Julius Malema?
I think he's someone who's a combination of the things that I've said are necessary to become a leader of this country. He's someone from a very impoverished background, grew up with a single mother and a grandmother. So he's got an appreciation of poverty. He's someone who's been able to establish his own businesses and rise from the ranks in that sector as well. So he's someone who knows what it means to build something grassroots up. He built a political party, so he knows what it means to create something and sustain it for over a decade now. And he's pursued education from someone who was mocked for having done woodwork for a very long time, to someone who's pursuing his master's at University of Witwatersrand. So it shows you he's someone who's willing to build himself and then build others. I mean, I'm a product of what he's built. I would not have, if you said to me 10 years ago, I'm 30 now, that I'd be a member of parliament, I'd be a spokesperson for the fourth biggest political party, I would have laughed you out the door because I would not have known that this is something that is possible. So he's recreated himself in many other individuals after building an institution of this nature. So I'm not, they'll say I'm praise singing, but these are the objective facts on the table that I think are the qualities that's required for someone to be a leader.
Sinawo Thambo, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, I'm good.